What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Living in Denver. My name is Adam, and this week I'm going to be talking to you about Arvada, Colorado. It's an area close to where I grew up, part of town that I've got a lot of experience in, so I'm really excited to share with you today my 3 pros and my 3 cons of living in Arvada, Colorado. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned. All right, guys, let's get started. So as I said earlier, today we're going to be talking about Arvada, Colorado. I'm going to be sharing with you my 3 pros, my 3 cons, and I've got some really fun history and just fun facts to share with you as well. So if you haven't learned already, my name's Adam Lang. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado. And as much as I love making videos like this, really what I love even more is just connecting with viewers like yourselves and just learning a little bit more about what you might be interested in looking for here in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, and hopefully just being able to provide value to you. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm available 24/7. My email, my phone number, my website, everything's listed down here below. And if you could, please make sure you guys hit that like and that subscribe button. I release videos like this every single week on all types of parts of town for Denver, Colorado. So it's really a good resource for people that are considering moving to Denver and having this be your new home. So looking forward to connecting with you guys more. But for now, let's get started. My 3 pros, my 3 cons, Arvada, Colorado. Let's go. All right, guys. So before we get started with my 3 pros and my 3 cons of Arvada, Colorado, just a little history and a background of Arvada, Colorado. So Arvada was actually founded in 1870, and it was a small agricultural community initially. It was incorporated as a city in 1904. And Arvada has a lot of history. So a lot of rich history, especially when it comes to the gold and silver mining background. There's a lot of several different mines actually that were operating in Arvada during the late 19th and early 20th century. So lots of really interesting history if you're in Old Town Arvada especially. I'll talk more about Old Town a little bit later, but there's a lot of really cool placards and just different memorable historical signage and just different areas where you can really walk around and learn a lot about Arvada. So definitely check that out when you guys are in Arvada and walking around town. And the city also has a lot of very notable figures over its history. So a few of these include, the Colorado Governor Roy Romer, and also one of my favorite athletes of all time, the Denver Broncos quarterback John Elway. And as far as Arvada, when you're looking at it on a map, it's located northwest of Denver, and it's bordered by the foothills of the Rocky Mountains to the west. You've got Westminster to the north. You've got the city of Denver to the east. And to the south of Arvada, you've got Lakewood. So there's also a lot of really major roads and highways that go through Arvada. To the north, we've got 88th Avenue. That's what kind of borders Arvada, 88th Avenue to the north. We've got 72nd Avenue to the south. We've got Kipling to the east. And we've got Indiana to the west. So and a few of these major thoroughfares that do go through Arvada, those include Highway 93, Highway 121, and then of course I-70, and then we also have another one that's called I-76. So looking at it from a map, you have a lot of accessibility when it comes to Arvada, getting in and out of town, and really nice, quick and easy access to downtown Denver and the Denver metropolitan area. So going right into my first pro of Arvada, Colorado, you guessed it, proximity to Denver. So again, being located just northwest of Denver makes it for a very quick and easy commute to the city for both work and play. So if you do happen to still work downtown Denver as an example, being in Arvada is, in my opinion, one of the best suburbs and just areas close to downtown Denver because of its easy access with the major thoroughfares that are going through Arvada. So again, I-70, I-76, we've got a lot of major highways that make it a quick, 15 to, depending on where you're going, but 15 to 30 minutes, and you could be pretty much anywhere downtown Denver depending on where you're working and what part of Denver you're going to. So definitely for my first pro of Arvada is just its proximity to Denver. And one thing that also I'll add to that is even though it is so close to downtown Denver, it's in an area that really feels a little bit detached. So since it is that northwest kind of section compared to where Denver is, you have a little bit more of a country feel. When I say that, what I mean is just there's a lot of parts of Arvada that are unincorporated. So you do have some areas that are just a little bit less metropolitan. So if you're somebody like myself that likes having that ability to have a larger lot, have a little bit more quiet peace when it comes to the night pollution, light pollution, just being able to have more stars, have a little bit quieter, less noise, all those kinds of benefits that you do have when it comes to being in a little bit less populated of an area. Definitely check out Arvada, because Arvada has some really cool pockets, some different areas within Arvada that really provide that type of environment. So if that's something that you're interested in, I can show you guys some of those areas if you're ever interested. So again, my first pro though, just proximity to Denver. Definitely, in my opinion, one of the better areas, along with some of the other areas that are to the west of Denver. And those include one of the other videos I recently did on Wheat Ridge, also Highlands, Edgewater, Lakewood, just all of the western side of town. I think that when it comes to proximity to downtown Denver, they all have very strong benefits just being on that side of town. All right, so for my first con, kind of going off of what I just told you about how Arvada has some areas that are not quite as metropolitan. Unfortunately, what that goes along with is limited nightlife. So Arvada does have a few popular bars and restaurants, as pretty much any city that you're gonna find in Denver has. However, they definitely do not have a thriving nightlife scene. So basically in Arvada, the one area that does have a little bit more of that type of feel is an area called Old Town. And Old Town Arvada is awesome. I mean, there's a lot of really cool restaurants, a lot of fun areas just to walk around. It does give you that sense and that feel like you are in almost like a small little community. All right, so before I go into my second pro, I'm gonna dabble in some different interesting stories in this video. And the first one is gonna be about what they call the Arvada Man. And the Arvada Man, he was this prehistoric human skeleton that they actually found in Arvada in the late 1800s. And this discovery was, definitely significant just because it was one of the first human remains that was ever actually found in Colorado. And it helped scientists just understand a little bit more about the early inhabitants of Colorado. And if you are in Old Town Arvada and just walking around different parts of town, you'll see, a few different places that have some historical, like some signage that talks a little bit more in depth about this. But I don't know, I always thought that was just something kind of cool, that Arvada definitely has some historical history when it comes to being an area that they found some of the first remains, some of the first, life forms, the first skeletons of Colorado. So definitely check out or just look a little bit more in depth about the Arvada Man. All right, guys, so my second pro for Arvada is definitely the outdoor recreation options. So if you've watched a few of my videos, you might kind of start to realize there's a theme with most areas in Denver, especially my favorite parts of town, which are the western side of Denver. Again, Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, Golden, that side of town. But what all of those have in common, and one of the pros that I'm sharing with you guys today about Arvada, is outdoor recreation opportunities. So Arvada is definitely no exception to this. Arvada is home to a ton of parks. One of the most popular is Apex Park. Huge open space, just an awesome option for you if you're looking for a place to take your dogs, just enjoy that outdoor lifestyle that is very prevalent in all these different neighborhoods and areas of Denver. So definitely check out Apex Park as one option for outdoor recreation opportunities. A lot of hiking and biking trails. And what's really cool though about some of the open spaces specific to Arvada, they also have a lot of fishing and just, picnicking areas. So I grew up fishing on lakes, usually more in the mountain areas of Colorado, especially Grand Lake and Shadow Mountain and Granby. But Denver has a lot of great fishing too. So definitely Arvada would be one of the areas that has more of that available. So check that out if it's something you guys are interested in. But overall, just a lot of outdoor recreation opportunities. And one thing that's really nice about Arvada you have a very unique view to the foothills and just to the beginnings of the Rocky Mountains. So when you are in Arvada, you have a little bit more of an expansive view of some of that, which I really like. So Arvada does have some areas where you get a little bit of elevation gain. So instead of being right at the mile high, right at 5,280 feet, there are some areas in Arvada that are just, even if it's just a couple hundred feet, but they're just a little bit higher up. And what that gives you is a little bit more of this expansive view. So one thing I really like about Old Town Arvada, as an example, is you have some of this where you can kind of see down into, kind of the Wheat Ridge border of Arvada, and just really be able to see a little bit more expansive view, including the beginnings of going up into the Rocky Mountains. So beautiful area. I'm filming this video right now in the beginning of February 2023. And one thing that this time of year provides is an incredible view of the mountains, where it's a combination of, snowy, tops to the peaks, but then you also have, a little bit more color diversity when it comes to, kind of going up into that. So there's not a ton of snow, for example, right now in Denver, but you can kind of see that progression as you look into the foothills and just that expansive Rocky Mountain backdrop that we're so lucky to have here in Denver, Colorado. So outside of going back to outdoor recreation opportunities, so outside of hiking and biking and some of those, I do have to just do a little local mention here for Arvada. I grew up playing a lot of disc golf, also known as frolf. Basically it's playing golf, but with Frisbees. Really fun if you're looking into trying a new activity out. Colorado, Denver especially, has a ton of options when it comes to disc golf. And one of the most popular courses in all of the state is in Arvada, and it's called Johnny Roberts. And it's just a little 9-hole course, but it is incredibly popular within the disc golf community. They have a lot of meetups, they have a lot of tournaments, a lot of community behind disc golf. So Arvada is a great option. There's a few really, really nice courses in Arvada, but one of the most notable and probably one of the most famous courses in all of Colorado, again, is called Johnny Roberts. So if you haven't checked that out and you're into disc golf, let's hit me up. Let's go play around. All right, guys. So my second con of Arvada, Colorado is traffic. And I mentioned earlier how it actually is a pro that as far as its location and its proximity to Denver. However, there is definitely continuing to be more and more traffic, especially in a few parts of this western side of Denver, and one of these being Arvada. So I think part of this is because Arvada is located next to several of these major highways, and that includes the two big ones, which is I-70 and I-76. And these are both just, continuing to be more and more congested with traffic. So, rush hour used to just be an hour-long thing between, like 4:30 and 5:30 in the afternoons. Unfortunately, now these two roads specifically are just getting a lot more volume of traffic. So really any time of day, you could have the potential that these are going to be backed up and you're going to be dealing with some traffic. So also, depending on what part of town in Arvada you live, if you happen to live in that Old Town area, which in my opinion is one of the best parts of Arvada, if you are living in that side of Arvada, Wadsworth is one of the main roads that takes you up into that area. And again, Arvada just has so much going on right now with development, a lot of just new multi-use developments going on with different types of retail, along with new apartments and just more options for people. It's great, but it is bringing in a lot more cars and traffic and just more congestion. So, depending on what time of day you're trying to get to and from, you are going to run in, unfortunately, to traffic. So that's a little bit of a con, but again, Denver's a huge interest for people to move right now. A lot of people are finding Denver as their next home. So a lot more people are moving here, and with that, again, comes a little bit more traffic. So it's still not that bad. Not something that I would ever look at to the point of wanting to leave town and move because of it, but it's getting a little bit worse year to year. So definitely just keep that in mind. Traffic is a con when it comes to Arvada, Colorado. All right, guys, so before I go into another pro of Arvada, Colorado, I'm gonna just share another little history fact that I told you I'd dabble in between all of these. So, Arvada definitely has some very prominent, notable figureheads that have called Arvada either home before when they first were born or kind of growing up, or also people that are continuing to live in Arvada today. And one of those people is an astronaut who is very popular and well known, and his name was Scott Carpenter. And he was actually one of the original 7 astronauts on the Mercury, and that was back in 1959. So he was, I believe, actually the second American ever to also orbit the Earth. And he later came on just to become a really prominent writer and even an ocean explorer. So he took his love for exploration and went from space actually into ocean exploration, and has some pretty interesting discoveries and notable facts about him when it comes to ocean exploration as well. But you know, again, Scott Carpenter, John Elway, we definitely have some really fun local Colorado figureheads that have spent a lot of time in the past and also currently in Arvada. So check that out too if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about either of those two people. All right, guys, so for my third and final pro of Arvada, Colorado, I saved the best for last as far as the most, in my opinion, best part of Arvada. And I've mentioned a couple other times already, but just it's known as Old Town Arvada. And Old Town Arvada is such a cool, fun, just family-friendly place. And that's what the actual pro is going to be today, is just how family-friendly Arvada is, specifically, in my opinion, because of Old Town Arvada, and also, again, a lot of these really, really nice parks and recreation opportunities that they have here, that a lot of big weekend, you know, Saturday soccer leagues, baseball, football, all the different sporting events. There's some really nice parks in Arvada that are very prone to being popular for the weekend. So lots of neighboring communities coming to Arvada for, you know, big soccer weekends, and just a lot of very expansive, family-friendly parks that allow for lots of fields and lots of weekend activities. So that's just one part of the family-friendly pro of Arvada, Colorado. But on top of that, again, is just this Old Town Arvada. So Old Town Arvada is just a very safe, community-based part of Arvada where you can either live close to here and ride your bike, that have the majority of the really nice restaurants and bars and just different types of mom and pop shops to walk around and enjoy. But it really is a pretty large area where, even though those kind of one or two streets are the main focus, it's probably 5 or 6 blocks of really fun places to check out. So again, lots of mom and pop, locally owned and operated restaurants, bars, just different types of stores. All of that sort of stuff is going on. And in the summertime, there's lots of really good like weekend farmers markets and just activities going on where you know, pretty much every weekend in the summer there's something in Old Town Arvada that's bringing people there to spend the day. So, and then outside of Old Town, another area that I wanted to talk to you about is the Arvada Center. So the Arvada Center is it's a Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities, and it just has all sorts of really, really interesting different types of plays, different types of art exhibits, all sorts of fun stuff. And there's this huge park, this big field that the Arvada Center is located on. So the Arvada Center has this big field in front of it. And in the last 5 or so years, they've really done a good job with expanding that into this outdoor art exhibit. And it's free. You just basically park and can walk on this little trail. And there's probably, I don't know, 15 to 30 at any given time art exhibits outdoors that are just different types of sculptures, really creative exhibits that locals, for the most part, have been invited to put their art on display here. And it's just a really cool area to walk around and just admire all of this eclectic, this different types of art that's always going on there. And I actually have a friend that I went to high school with who is very involved with the Arvada Center. He's somebody that I think at times has been a curator and helped with these installations, and that he also has, I think almost all the time, one of his exhibits or his art installations is always one of these that's in this walkable park area that's in front of the Arvada Center. And I know him, for one. I'm sure a lot of the other artists at the Arvada Center, they also are featuring exhibits at Meow Wolf. So if you haven't learned about Meow Wolf yet, definitely check that out. It opened up about a year ago. It's in Denver, right next to the Broncos Stadium, and it is a trip. It is this really, really eclectic, just different experience if you've never been to one before. The one in Denver is the third Meow Wolf now. There was initially one that first came out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then a few years after that, due to popularity of the first one, they opened up one in Las Vegas. And then the biggest one yet is the one that opened up in Denver, again, about a year ago. And it is crazy. So if you haven't been to Meow Wolf, definitely just look that up and come check it out, because it is, if you're into art and just something totally off the wall, just something different that you've never been to before, that's definitely gonna fit the bill for that. So again, though, a lot of the artists from the Arvada Center have involvement with Meow Wolf and just help create this incredible place that it is today. So again, third pro, family friendly, lots of community with Old Town Arvada and just some of these other really nice places that exist in Arvada for families. So check out Meow Wolf, check out the Arvada Center, and definitely check out Old Town Arvada. All three of these places are awesome. Before I talk to you about my third and final con of Arvada, Colorado, I'm gonna dabble in a couple more history and just cool facts about Arvada. So the first one is about how Arvada actually has the state's oldest continuously operating flour mill in Colorado. It's called the Arvada Flour Mill. It's actually still in operation today, which is nuts. It was built initially in 1869, so we're talking over 150 years, going on almost 165 years. I mean, nuts how long this has been here, and it's been literally in operation since it first opened in 1869, and it's just obviously been used to mill flour for the community ever since. So I just think that's pretty cool. You don't see that many businesses or just things that exist that are that old and are still around today. So definitely a fun place to drive by and check out if you're into history and that kind of stuff. And then another one, though, kind of going on that same theme, is one of the things that Arvada is the most well known for, and that's its significant history that it has, again, with agriculture. So Arvada is a little bit more of a agriculturally based part of Denver. I think that's one of the reasons why I really like its ability to be a little bit less noisy, have less light pollution, be able to see the stars more at night, and just have less noise and craziness going on like you do in some of the other parts of Denver that are continuing to really get more and more developed and busier and more popular. Arvada does still have that, but because it's being a little bit more of an agriculture, we also have a lot of access in Arvada to irrigation, which made it just an ideal place for growing celery. And again, this was from back in the 1900s, so another thing that's been here for over 100 years. And this crop was definitely one of the major sources of income for local farmers in Arvada back in the day. So again, a couple more tips and just facts about Arvada for you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed both of those. All right, guys, so for my third and final con, this one, you gotta kind of give and take a little bit, because earlier I was talking about some of the nice parts of Arvada being how it's more rural, you have a little bit less noise and light pollution, you have a little bit less craziness with people, but a con that unfortunately goes with some of those benefits is limited public transportation. So, Arvada has some major thoroughfares going through, like I talked about earlier, I-70 and I-76 being two of the most predominant ones. So you have a really good, easy access when it comes to driving your own vehicle to and from Arvada. However, limited public transportation, depending on what area in Arvada you live. So they're getting a lot better with public transportation when it comes to Old Town and certain parts of Arvada. So in areas of Arvada like that, public transportation is becoming much more accessible and better. However, there are still some areas in Arvada that are a little bit more further out from that, some of those more rural areas, especially what we call unincorporated Jefferson County, which some of that is near and in Arvada. Those areas are definitely lacking when it comes to public transportation options. So again, some of the areas a little bit closer to downtown Denver, like Lakewood and Wheat Ridge, and even some of the areas more south and more east of Denver, those have much more options and a much more extensive light rail system and just public transportation options. Arvada, you're going to be lacking that a little bit. So if you really want to be in an area that has easy access when it comes to public transportation, you might want to look at a few other areas other than Arvada. However, I definitely think it's been improving over the years and it's gone a long way. So for the most part, you still have the ability to pretty much get to and from downtown Denver and really anywhere you need to go. It just might mean you have to get, a couple different connections, or you have to just drive or, get dropped off a little bit closer again to that Old Town Arvada area, which is the main part of town that has those options and that accessibility with light rail and some of those other public transportation options. So third and final con, just a little bit of limited public transportation. All right, guys, well, there you had it. Those are my top 3 pros and my top 3 cons of Arvada. Before we get done with this video though, I want to share with you one of my favorite kind of history, little tidbits, fun little story to share with you specific to Arvada, Colorado. So I played soccer my whole life, and we always had a soccer field that we'd practice at, multiple times a week. And that was really close to Drake Middle School and just off of Ward Road, which is a pretty common part of Arvada if you are familiar at all with Arvada. But back in the day, up until I think it was about the mid 1990s, we had a factory in Arvada, which was the Jolly Rancher Candy Factory. And kind of dating myself here as far as my age, but Jolly Ranchers are one of the most common candies for the majority of my life that I could think of. And they were just those little hard candies. You'd have 4 or 5 main flavors. My favorite always being watermelon. And then once in a while you could get the fire ones that only came out occasionally. And they were just one of these types of candies that everybody knew about, and just everybody, for the most part, I imagine, if you asked anybody about Jolly Ranchers, I'm guessing that's everywhere in the country, but definitely in Colorado, people are gonna know what you're talking about. So anyways, this Jolly Rancher factory, it was located for several years, I think close to 30 or 40 years. It was in operation in Arvada. The actual dates were from 1949 to 1985. The factory was founded by Bill and Dorothy Harmson. That was their last name, was the Harmsons. And they began making candy in their home in Denver all the way back in the 1940s. And then they started to get some popularity, so they moved their business to Arvada in 1949, and that's when this Jolly Rancher factory emerged as definitely one of the city's largest employers at the time. So even back in the late 1940s and 1950s, 1960s, this is a major operation. So there was a lot of employment here and just a lot of money coming into Arvada because of this Jolly Rancher factory. So, and it was known, again, most distinctly for its red and white striped smokestack, which if you drove by the Jolly Rancher factory and you looked off, for me when I was going to this soccer practice, I would always see it off to the right, and you just have this, again, this red and white striped smokestack, and you can see it for miles around. It's a very obvious, something you could just see from miles away. I mean, it's a big smokestack. And again, they made all these different hard candies that I was talking about, but they actually back in the day also made taffy, chocolate bars, all sorts of stuff. And because of, I think, these other candies that they were also making, they actually eventually sold to the Hershey company. And again, I think that was in like the mid 1980s. So production at that point, was moved from this Arvada location, and they got bigger and kind of went on to being part of the Hershey company. So the factory itself, though, it was actually demolished not until 2002. So right after I graduated high school, that building was still there for several years, even after they moved. And it, became a very disappointing time for a lot of people, because it was just such a notable and fun part of Arvada, was just having that Jolly Rancher factory. So definitely a big part of Arvada's history. So, I think a lot of residents of Arvada and also the neighboring communities, so myself included, just have a lot of fond memories of that candy and just that factory and driving by. And one last thing I'll say about it is just the smell. So you could distinctly, if you had your window rolled down, you could smell a very distinct smell of the Jolly Rancher factory. And it was a good smell. It was knowing that, candy was being made over there. So, just something that was close to my heart, just remembering and thinking back to when that existed, and just a cool part of Arvada. So, today, since it is totally gone, they demolished it in 2002. It's a shopping center now. So, it's part of that Old Town Arvada area. And, the Harmsons, the people that, again, created the Jolly Rancher factory, they're definitely still, remembered in Arvada, because they've done a lot of, philanthropic efforts and just contributed to the success and the growth of Arvada. And they continue today, I know, to support the community and have a lot of different charities and just charitable giving that they're doing in Arvada. So shout out to the Harmsons and for creating the Jolly Rancher factory. Pretty cool, little thing about Arvada that I just want to share with you guys. All right, so that was Arvada, Colorado for all of y'all. Hope you enjoyed watching this video and learning a little bit more about some of my pros, some of my cons, and just some fun facts about Arvada. Again, I think Arvada is a phenomenal place to live. It's definitely one of my favorite areas when it comes to places that are fairly close to downtown Denver and still have a lot offering people when it comes to outdoor activities, Old Town Arvada, and just the restaurants and bars and just the community feel that offers, and just the ability to be in a part of Denver that is a little bit less crazy when it comes to population growth and just the craziness of parts of town that are growing so rapidly all around Denver, Colorado. Arvada still has some ability to have larger plots of land, a little bit larger lot sizes, and just enjoying that, again, that stargazing and that lack of city noise, and just Arvada has some really great things going for it. So, and if you didn't know, again, my name is Adam Lang. I'm a realtor here in Denver, Colorado. And as much as I enjoy, making videos, I also really like just connecting with new faces and learning a little bit more about what might be the reason why you want to consider moving to Denver, and hopefully finding some different opportunities and some ways that I can provide value to you and hopefully help you guys out with that. So my phone number, my email, everything is down below here. Make sure you guys shoot me a message or give me a call. Or if easier, what I love doing is jumping on a quick 15 to 30 minute Zoom call and getting a little bit more of a face-to-face with you and a chance to really just learn more about what you're looking for and how I can hopefully help you out. So really excited to connect with you guys soon. And until next time, this is Adam, this is Living in Denver, and this was a video all about Arvada, Colorado. I'll see you guys next time. Talk to you then.